how to create and communicate a product that has meaning and value. Steve Jobs, who was the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Apple, once said, "When we create stuff, we do it because we listen to the customer, get their inputs, and also throw in what we'd like to see too. We cook up new products. You never really know if people will love them as much as you do." This quote focuses on how companies need to deliver products that they'll really love. If the company doesn't love and get behind their products, in addition to their customers, you're going to become stagnant very quickly. So just how do you create those products? That is what this chapter is all about. So as we spend some time together, I'll explain a product and identify product classifications. I'll describe the product differentiation and the key elements of product planning. I'll discuss innovation and the product life cycle, and then analyze and explain promotion and integrated marketing communications. And finally, we'll look at the development of the promotional message and discuss the promotional mix and the various promotional tools that are used to get a product or service into the eye of the customer. Now, a product is any good or service that an organization offers to satisfy consumer needs. So it can be a physical product, but more than that, it can also be a service or an idea. Now, how a service differentiates itself from a tangible good is that services typically cannot be seen, smelled, tasted, or touched before being purchased. So if you're talking to a financial advisor, you can't touch the advice that they are giving you. Their delivery requires interaction between the buyer and the provider. You have variability amongst the different services that are available by the different providers. And finally, services cannot be stored. They are delivered at a certain time, and if you don't take advantage of that service, it's perishable. It's gone. You can't hold on to it forever. Now, this graphic illustrates the spectrum between a goods and services. So with pure goods, we have hard, solid products. We've got ketchup, we have socks, we have tables, cars, phones. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have pure services. So music lessons, financial consulting, any advice that you are given. These are all examples of pure services. And, when you get right down to it, it's very difficult to say whether a product is a good or a service because most products contain some of both. Pure goods, don't include services, and pure services don't include any goods, but usually there's something in between. When you buy your iPhone, for example, not only do you have your tangible product, but you also are part of a network. So when there are updates and network patches and things like that, you're getting those services to keep your system safe and secure. Now, when we're looking at products, we have different layers within the product. So we have the core benefit, we have the actual product, and the product augmentation. So when we're looking at the actual product, that includes all factors that make it unique, such as the brand name, the features, and the packaging. This is part of the core benefit. Now, marketers, when they add extra goods and services to their product, the product becomes an augmented product. That means that you have your maybe some ketchup, for example. Well, Heinz used to have an advertisement that talked about how slow the ketchup would come out of the bottle. And by being slow, that meant that the ketchup itself was rich and thick, and it was something that you would find very pleasurable to your palate. So that was a service or an idea that helped Heinz to sharpen the perception of how their ketchup was better. So it improved their competitive edge. Now, classification of products. So a basic overview is that you have consumer products, and these products are purchased for personal use or consumption. They're typically convenient, they're easy to get. You've got shopping products, specialty products, and then sometimes you can sell a product that the consumer didn't plan on buying, but they end up doing that. Going to Costco is a great example where you go in to go buy some muffins, and $200 later, you've got all sorts of things you had no idea that you needed. Let's see, convenience products, when we look at those, these items tend to be fairly inexpensive, and consumers will buy them frequently with limited, they don't think about them too much. When we are looking more at shopping products, these tend to be expensive items that are purchased less frequently. A car is an example of that. Specialty products tend to be more expensive and are seldom purchased. Maybe a diamond ring is a good example. And we already talked about unsought products. Now, businesses, they also have products, and these products are purchased to be used either directly or indirectly in the production of other products. So you have installations and accessory equipment, and these involve a large capital expenditure, and that is designed for a large product life. There's usually a lot of personal selling that is involved and a lot of customization. So think of a factory where you have an engineer that is working with somebody from Honda, for example, to make sure that as they are producing their cars, that it's being done in a way that the assembly line is set up in a way that helps Honda to be efficient, but also unique to the Honda product. We have maintenance, repair, and operating products. So when that assembly line breaks down, who's fixing that? We have raw materials, component parts, processed materials. All of these items, if we stick with the Honda example, you have the steel or aluminum that's necessary to make the cars. You have the computers that go into the cars. You have the vinyl or the leather that goes into the seats. When Honda is purchasing vinyl for the seats, they're not making that vinyl. They're purchasing a product that's already been made, but they're using it. And then finally, we have business services. So these are any services that the business has to purchase in order to facilitate their operations. Maybe they need to rent their plant facility and they don't own it directly. Electricity, power, any other types of services that are necessary for the functioning of the business, computers, paper, things like that. These are all examples of how business services would be used in the production of a product. Now, when we are thinking about products, and especially if you think about making your own product, it needs to be unique. What sets it apart? There's a million products out there. How will yours be different from your competitors? And while it might meet the same or similar customer needs, how is it special? And then we have to think about the quality level. Is how well a product performs its core functions. Is it consistent? Or does the product last like it promises? The manufacturer promises that it will last. So these are all things that go into the thought process of developing a product. Now, here are some examples of some product indicators. So the definition of quality and the attributes that indicate quality are different for different types of product categories. And this slide shows just a few examples of some product quality indicators. So if you are looking at different search engines, you're going to be looking for a search engine that is fast, it's relevant, it lets you do wide searches. Doesn't give you a real narrow return. You have kids' toys. Are they safe? Has anyone endorsed them? Do they have educational value? Are they entertaining? Copy machines. Businesses that use these, they want a machine that's reliable, that's flexible, that has customer service because they do break down. How about a roller coaster? Is it exciting? Is it new? What kind of setting is it in? How about the design? Is it something that is captivating, or is it just the same old, same old? Oh, and finally, coffee, my personal favorite. How does it taste? What brand is it? What is the price? Where does it come from? Does it have any additives? Is it green trade or free trade? So these are all some examples of how we can look at the quality of different products. Now we have features and benefits. So a feature is a specific characteristic of a product, like a flip phone. That is a feature. Well, a benefit is the advantage that a customer gains from the specific product features. For example, with our flip phone, a benefit that consumers would have with it is that it is more protected than a phone that doesn't fold over on itself. It's very important for marketers to design packages that have features that offer customers the highest level of value at a reasonable price. So when this product is being created, it should be designed so that the marketer is gaining a profit out of it. So your characteristics, your features, you want to be able to sell those for profit. Otherwise, you're going to go out of business. And marketers usually try to offer as few low-cost features. Let me rephrase that. Marketers usually try to offer a few low-cost features that give high-value benefits. So it's real easy to make a flip phone and then to be able to sell the idea of phone protection. If you drop it, your screen's not broken. Doesn't cost a lot to add a couple of little screws for that top. Now, product lines and the product mix. So a product line is a group of products that's closely related to each other and how they work or amongst the customers that they serve. Now, within a product mix, you have the total number of product lines, and then you have individual items that are sold by a firm. An example of this is Quaker Oats. So Quaker Oats produces a product line called oatmeal. Now, within that product line, they've got a mix of old-fashioned oatmeal, and they have instant oatmeal. And we can further break that down into instant oatmeal with flavors. So these are examples of a general product line and how the mix of that product line gets adapted to meet different consumer needs. Now, when a company is adding a new line or a new product, there is a little risk of what is called cannibalization. And this occurs when the producer offers a new product that takes away sales from its existing products. Continuing with our oatmeal example, if Quaker were to create a product, an oatmeal flavor called apple raisins walnuts, will they attract new consumers to try that out of all the consumers in the world? Or will they maybe entice a consumer that usually buys apples and cinnamon flavor to try the apple raisin walnut? So net for the company, they haven't gained a sale. They've simply traded out. And you have to be very aware of that so that you're expanding your business, not just keeping the same customer base. Now, branding. A brand is a product's identity that sets it apart from other players in the same category. It can be a name, a symbol, a design, a reputation, an image. Quaker Oats is an example of a very strong brand. And when you buy Quaker Oats, you're expecting a certain product quality level that is different from private label. And once you've had a brand that is fully established, it develops what's called brand equity. And brand equity is the overall value of this brand to the organization. So the Quaker Oats company, they produce all sorts of products. They have cold cereal, hot cereal. They have pasta. They have Gatorade. When they're looking at their entire portfolio, they're taking a look at how much each of these businesses contributes to the overall company. And this can change over time as customers' tastes change, their needs for certain products evolve, and certainly with technology, we see products becoming obsolete. But brand equity is the overall value of a brand to an organization. Now, some brand name categories. We have location-based categories. So that refers to the area that's served by the brand. So we have Southwest Airlines that you immediately have an idea of when you're searching for that airline where their service is. Best Western Hotels, Bank of America. These are all location-based companies. We have the founders' names, and they can include the first and last name of the person that created the company, or sometimes both. There's some very common names you've all heard of: McDonald's, Dell Computer, Ford, Disney, Jenny Craig. All of these companies use the founder's name. We have descriptive or functional categories, and these describe the types of products or services and how it works. Some examples: you have eBay, US News and World Report, Subway, Krispy Kreme. You hear those names and you immediately know what type of business you're in. And then evocative. So this category communicates an engaging image that tends to resonate with consumers. You have Yahoo, Craftsman, Virgin, Intel, Lunchables, Cosmopolitan Magazine, Starbucks, Apple. When consumers hear these names, there is a certain message that they automatically receive. And clearly it's positive because all of these companies are in business. Now, within our brand, how do we take a basic idea and extend it further so that we are selling more product? One way that we do that is through line extensions, where marketers are offering similar products under the same brand name. And they do this in order to steal market share from competitors rather than their own core brand. So that is the goal of a line extension, is to take sales away from your competitor. You have brand extension, which is a new product in a brand new category, and it's usually introduced under an existing name. There's licensing, and this is where you purchase the right to use another company's brand name or symbol. This is typically done when you have, let's see, I'm trying to think of an example. So McDonald's will use Aunt Jemima pancake mix to make their McDonald's pancakes. They've purchased the right to use this company's brand and or symbol when they're marketing their own restaurant business. And finally, you have co-branding. And this is where established brands from different companies join forces to market the same product. This is very advantageous for both companies because it uses their strengths to enter new markets and gain more exposure. It certainly comes with some risk, however, because if your partner makes a mistake, it can potentially have an effect on your business as well, even though you were not responsible for that at all. So these are, the 4 basic ways that we brand: through line extension, brand extension, licensing, and co-branding. Now, national brands versus store brands. So national brands they're owned by their producer, and they also have their quality is really being challenged by the low-end private label brands. So an example of that is in the oatmeal category, you have Quaker Oats, but if you go to Fred Meyer, you will see the Kroger label. And the Kroger brand is positioned or priced much cheaper than the Quaker oatmeal. And that can put a lot of pressure onto the national brands. The private label or store brands are typically produced and distributed by the retailer. Interestingly enough, store brands, they're usually produced under contract with the national brands. For example, when I worked for ConAgra Foods, one of ConAgra's brands is Rosarita refried beans. Well, ConAgra contracted with a grocery store called Smith's, which is in Salt Lake City and in the Arizona markets, and ConAgra produced their refried beans for them. So they're usually, these private labels are typically produced by the national brands, but they're marketed as the store brand. Now, packaging. This is especially important for grocery stores and mass merchandisers. It's important because it protects the product. It provides information, so if there is a product recall, the consumer knows how to address that. You have packaging that will determine where the product is stored, in a dry grocery warehouse or in a frozen warehouse. You have packaging that will suggest how to use the product. For example, recipes. Packaging will promote the product brand, and it's designed to attract the buyer's attention. So while packaging is, there's some things that it must provide as far as packaging safety, and if you're buying a food product, you want it to be safe. It really does give the marketer a chance to be creative, because when you're looking at a shelf of food products, or you're looking at a shelf that has lots of cell phone covers, how do you make your brand stand out? So you want a package that is designed to be colorful and it catches the attention of your customer. So very, very important. Now, we've got product innovation and evolution. So a business that aims to survive for a long time needs to develop successful new products. You can't be the one product wonder and never change, because eventually the consumer will tire of your product. So you always need to be looking for what's next. So discontinuous innovations, they are brand new ideas that radically change the way people live. These are difficult products because they usually require extensive customer learning, but this can guide the marketing process. So this, if you're coming up with a great product, this can be super exciting. Now, dynamically continuous innovation. This is where a product has significant changes and improvements, but the basic product is there. So some examples are in the technology sector. With your computers, it's almost impossible to buy a computer today and within a month, 6 months, it's already outdated. So that continual change and improvement, makes it so that within a few years' time, as a consumer, you need to upgrade. And then continuous innovation, slight modifications to an existing product. So why companies do this, it's to be able to differentiate the product from your competition. So Apple, I think, does a nice job of this, where their phones aren't changing that much every year, but they really do a fabulous job of marketing their innovations and getting customers to pay substantial amounts of money for a new phone to have the latest and the greatest, even though it's, really not that much different. Now, when we have new products, there's these 5 steps that take you from the idea down to the actual product. So first you have to have your idea. And the idea generation can come from customer research, customer complaints, salespeople, engineers, suppliers, competitors. You can get an idea anywhere. After you've gone through that step, then you have idea screening. And in idea screening, you weed out ideas that don't fit with the company's objectives and ideas. So this is where you go, that's a nice idea, but this one over here is better and fits more with us. You have the analysis stage. So you have to estimate how much will it cost? What are your forecasted sales for each idea? And most importantly, you need to be able to calculate your potential profit and judge the product fit within your overall firm. The development results, that gives a detailed description of each concept with specific product features. And finally, you have testing. And that is the formal process of asking for feedback from consumers by testing the product concept. This can be done through market research, consumer panels. This can be done through surveys over the phone. There's a plethora of ways to get this information. Now, characteristics that affect product adoption and the diffusion rate. So, things you need to think about is observability. How visible is the product to potential consumers? How do you get that message out there? Trialability. How easy is it to get consumers to try your new product? If it's an expensive product, it's going to be a lot harder to convince someone to spend that money. How complex is it? Can new or potential consumers understand the product? What is it? How does it work? So if there's not ease in that process, that could be a potential barrier, but it's something that you need to think about. How about compatibility? How consistent is the product with the existing way of doing things? Does it make life easier, or is it is it making it harder? And then the relative advantage. How much better are the benefits of the new product compared to existing products? Is it really offering an advantage, or is it simply the same old thing just in a new package? So these are all things that have to be carefully evaluated. So in our product life cycle, it's really important to understand where your product is in its life cycle. So as a marketer, you can develop effective strategies for that product and to potentially identify other profitable categories for new products. All products go through a product life cycle or a pattern of sales and profits that typically changes over time. So the product life cycle is obviously different for different products and different product categories. But most products move through 4 distinct stages. You have the introduction, you have the growth, the maturity, and finally you have the decline. So let's take a look at these. So during the introduction phase, this is when a product is brand new. It's never been seen before. So some examples of products in the introduction phase, you have virtual reality games. Those have not been around very long, so they're really in their new, still in the new phase. You have fuel cell technology. You have smart glasses. During this phase, companies should expect fairly low sales and low profits, and that's because as you are educating your customers, you're building awareness, you are creating a trial, you're getting customers to check your product out, and your distribution, you have to get your product out there. During the growth phase, this is where you're reinforcing your brand positioning, and this is usually done through heavy advertising. We see this with hybrid cars, flat screen TVs, tablet computers. Sales and profits are rapidly growing during this period, and it's a great time to be in business. You have maturity, and during maturity, you have flat sales, sometimes declining profits because you're not selling quite as much. And during this phase, marketers will target competitors, and what they'll do is defend their franchise or their brand with new product features. Sometimes they'll have competitive advertising and promotion, even occasionally price cuts. And the goal is to knock your competitor out of the park so that you pick up those sales. Some industries that that are very mature, we have airlines, DVD players, which we can even make an argument that they're declining. Personal computers, maybe not as many are sold because of tablets. You have online stock trading, energy drinks. There's all sorts of markets that are not quite as hip as they used to be. And finally, you have declining markets. So this is where sales are going down, and as a result, profits are definitely dropping, and manufacturers will cut spending, and they'll eventually think about not producing the product at all. So some markets or products that are currently going through this is pagers. You don't see people with pagers very often. Even doctors who used to use them a lot are tending to use their cell phones more. Video cassettes with Blu-ray and streaming, you don't use video cassettes like you used to. So in time, you will not find those products anymore. Now, promotion. Promotion is really a way to help consumers make a choice, and a choice that hopefully is directed towards your product. So consumers are influenced and to purchase your product by information that they might have read in a trade magazine, through persuasion, a compelling ad, or reminders. Maybe there's a quick little ad on TV or on the radio. Buy now before the sale goes away. You have integrated marketing, and with integrated marketing, there's coordination of the marketing messages through all promotional vehicles. And this is done to communicate a unified impression about a product. So the message that the consumer receives is the same whether they see it on TV, hear about it on the radio, see it on a billboard. It is all the same. With your promotional message, it's very important to have a positioning statement that clearly articulates how your target market is to envision or visualize the product relative to the competition. So companies communicate their big ideas via promotional channels like advertising, sales promotion, direct marketing, and personal selling. And a lot of times they use a process that in the creative development that gives them a big idea. And this big idea uses a lot of times a rational response or an emotional response. Pepsi is great about eliciting um, emotional responses that make you want to buy their product. And if you ever have a chance to see their ads over the generations, they've done just a fabulous job of really being in tune with the current consumers and changing their ads to keep their message relevant as consumers' beliefs and ideas have changed. Now, some emerging tools for promotion. We have internet advertising. So companies, this is still very new, and companies are still trying to figure out how to access and utilize the internet to get their messages out there. Social media. So more and more companies are beginning to utilize this and to market themselves on Instagram, on Tumblr, on Facebook. Product placement is talking about the paid integration of branded products into movies and TV. So when you see somebody on TV drinking a certain soda brand or eating a specific brand of cereal, I guarantee you that the company has paid for that product to be used. That's advertising time for them. Advergramming is using video games and using them as a marketing tool, usually with some brand awareness as the core goal. So you will see more advertising through the online gaming world because that's so fluid. Buzz marketing. So this is basically word of mouth, and it's the transfer of information from someone who's in the know to someone who isn't. Buzz marketing is also known as guerrilla marketing and viral marketing. So it's where everyone wants to try the new product, and you're telling your brother, your sister, your aunt, your grandma, your best friend, because you're so excited they need to get involved too. And then finally we have sponsorships, and sponsorships are really expected to grow as an emerging promotional tool, because we've got more nations that are getting behind certain products. And as that happens, you're going to see this becoming even bigger than it is right now. So some traditional tools for promotion, we have advertising, and you see here in the photo, we have a taxi cab that has an ad for Ray-Ban and saying, hey, never hide. And if we look in the background there at Times Square, we see an ad for Coca-Cola, we see Aerie, we see a beer product. Advertising is paid for. It is not personal, and the communication is used, it's broad enough that it's used to influence a target audience. So you want lots and lots of people to see it. So television is probably the number one advertising medium, followed by magazines and still newspapers. So what's interesting is that spending on sales promotion has increased in the past decade. So companies are spending more and more money to get your attention. We have consumer promotion tools, and in these tools, you will find premiums, you'll find promotional products, you have samples, coupons, rebates, displays. You may have a special deal allowance. There might be a trade show or some sort of consumer show that gets people to come in and try your product. Contests. You have sweepstakes and special events. These are all common forms of trade promotion, and they're highly, highly effective. So in sales promotion is used to stimulate sales activity through very specific short-term programs. Macy's does a fabulous job of saying, lowest price of the season, come in Wednesday through Saturday, early buy. They're telling you to come in, the sale is for a limited time, and you come in or you lose that window of purchasing their products at a super price. So when we have these sales promotions, we've got two different types, and I think I jumped ahead of myself. So you have consumer promotion that's used to generate immediate consumer sales. That's the Macy's example. You also have the trade promotion, and that is used to push specific products more aggressively over the short term. So some of the ads that you'll see Best Buy offering, as far as your computers or your cell phones, they've been given some sort of a deal on their tablets, and so they will pass that along and say, buy now, buy now. That's an example of pushing the product out. We also have public relations. So the goal of PR is to boost demand by generating positive publicity. Some of the advantages of publicity are that it's usually credible and that it is pretty close to free. So the greatest disadvantage of publicity is that the marketer has no control over how the company or its products are portrayed. So it's great when you have your product talked about on the news as long as it's positive. But if it's negative, that can really work against you. So and finally, we've got personal selling, which is, one-on-one person-to-person presentation, or a person-to-person presentation of products to potential buyers. So personal selling is successful only when it's building a relationship that will be around for a long time. And that's getting more difficult to do And so you're talking about products where you need to be engaging with that consumer over time. And once you have sold them that product, you want them to be coming back again and again. And so it's always, always important to maintain that relationship. So how do you decide exactly what promotional mix you should use? Well, you have to really understand the industry that your product is going to be competing in and where the specific industry segments are. So before you start looking at your mix, it's probably best to consider the product characteristics, where in the product life cycle it is, who your target audience is, are you using a push strategy or pull strategy, and looking at the overall competitive market and your budget for doing that while figuring out a mix that works best for your product. So you need to be thinking about your product's characteristics and what's going on, your target audience, and what your budget is. Now, push strategy. So this is a strategy where you are motivating your distributors to promote your product using heavy trade promotion. So that is using Best Buy to promote your tablets. Now, a pull strategy is when you are creating demand with consumers. So the consumer is looking for the product, they want to purchase it. And they might see the advertisement on TV and say, "Oh, I need that new tablet today." And even though Best Buy isn't offering it on sale, the consumers, if they have a compelling enough reason to go in, they're going to be looking for that product. Oh, there's so much to think about when we are making and trying to promote our products. We have to look at our product and identify the product classifications. We need to describe the product and how it's different from its competition, and take a look at the key elements of product planning. How will we make it? We need to look at product innovation and the product life cycle. We need to take a look at analyzing and figuring out the promotion strategy and exactly which of the integrated marketing communications we need to use. We've looked at ways to develop the promotional message. And finally, we've looked at the promotional mix and using various promotional tools when you are selling your products. So that concludes Chapter 12. Please review your notes, take a look at your vocabulary, and make sure that you are getting ready for the Chapter 12 quiz and any other assignments that are being housed in Buzz. If you have any questions, please give me a call, and I